A very good morning to all of you. Let's start the next topics of our chapter, metals and non-metals. As we are dealing with the chemical properties of metals and non-metals, and we have seen one property, how metals react with oxygen and how non-metals react with oxygen. Today we are going to learn how metals react with water and how non-metals react with water. And we'll also see what is corrosion and how it is formed. Metals react with water to form metal oxides. Metal plus water, and they will form first the metal oxide plus hydrogen gas. Now this metal oxide, it reacts with water again to form metal hydroxide. All metals do not react with water, and there are some metals which react with water vigorously. And let's take how these metals react with water. First, take the example of sodium and potassium. Sodium and potassium are highly reactive metals. Sodium is highly reactive metal and it is stored in kerosene. And there is a reason why it is stored in kerosene. We have already seen in the physical properties that sodium is a soft metal. It is soft like soap and it can be cut easily with the help of a knife. When a small piece of sodium metal is dropped in water, it starts floating. As you can see in the picture, in this petri dish, the sodium metal is put in water and first it will start floating. Then it starts reacting with water to form sodium hydroxide. First it has formed sodium oxide and then it has formed sodium hydroxide. With the release of hydrogen gas, a great amount of heat is released in this reaction. The heat which is released, it melts the sodium and turns it into a tiny ball of liquid sodium. The heat also causes hydrogen gas which is released during the reaction to catch fire. The ball of sodium thus goes sizzling across the surface of water. Let's see how the chemical reaction takes place in case of sodium. 2Na. Na is the chemical symbol for sodium. It reacts with water to form sodium hydroxide NaOH plus hydrogen gas. So we have seen that sodium reacts vigorously with water to produce sodium hydroxide, and the hydrogen gas which is produced during this process or released during this process catches fire. Now same is the case with potassium also. It also reacts vigorously with cold water, even with steam also. And the chemical reaction which takes place in case of potassium is 2K plus 2H2O will give 2KOH, which is potassium hydroxide plus release of hydrogen gas. So in this way we have seen how these two highly reactive metals, sodium and potassium, react with water to form their hydroxides, and they react vigorously. Now let's see how zinc reacts with water. Zinc shows no reaction either with cold water or with hot water, but it reacts slowly with steam to produce zinc oxide and hydrogen gas. Let's see what will be the chemical reaction of zinc when it reacts with water. Zinc plus H2O will give zinc oxide. This is zinc oxide plus hydrogen gas will be released. This is the solid form and this is in gaseous form since it is reacting with the steam of water. Now how calcium reacts with water? Calcium reacts less vigorously with cold water, and let's see its chemical reaction. Calcium plus water will form calcium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. This is calcium hydroxide. So we have seen that zinc reacts with the steam of water and forms zinc oxide and hydrogen gas, whereas calcium reacts in a less vigorous manner with cold water to form calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Over a period of time, the continuous reaction of certain metals with oxygen in the presence of water results in eating away of the metal surface, and this process is called corrosion. Rusting of iron is the most familiar example of corrosion, and rust is formed when iron reacts with oxygen in the presence of moisture and forms a compound which is called iron oxide or rust. Let's see how the chemical reaction will take place. Iron will react with oxygen and water and will form a oxide of iron which is Fe2O3 along with water. This is called rust, which is hydrated iron oxide. Now the rust contains water molecules, therefore it is called hydrated iron oxide. And oxygen and water, both of them are needed for the rust to be formed. Similarly, there are other metals also which corrode, and when they react with oxygen they form their oxides. Like tarnish found on silver teapots, trays and jewelry, chromium oxide which forms on the outer layer of stainless steel, and a mixture of copper hydroxide and copper carbonate which is called patina. It is a greenish layer which is formed on the surface of copper vessels when it is exposed to moist air for long duration. Now this rusting is an undesirable change and it makes the iron surface porous and the inner layers also get damaged due to rust formation. Since zinc does not react with water, the surfaces of iron and steel are coated with a layer of zinc. The zinc layer prevents contact between the metal surface and moisture in air, and thus it protects the metal from rusting or corrosion. Now this process of coating iron and steel articles with zinc is called galvanization, and it protects the surfaces from being corroded. Nonmetals do not react with water. However, phosphorus is a nonmetal which is very reactive. It catches fire if it is exposed to air. Therefore, it is stored in water to prevent it from catching fire. This is the summary how metals react with water and what are their chemical equations. Let's have a quick recap. The first case is of potassium, which reacts vigorously. It shows a violent reaction with water and potassium hydroxide is formed. Then second, sodium. It also reacts vigorously with cold water and forms sodium hydroxide with the release of hydrogen gas. And the hydrogen gas which is released, it catches fire. Calcium, it reacts in a less vigorous manner with cold water and forms calcium hydroxide. Then magnesium, it is very slow with cold water but shows a vigorous reaction with steam and forms magnesium hydroxide. Then aluminium, it reacts vigorously with steam and forms aluminium oxide. Al2O3. Then zinc, it is quite slow and it reacts with steam very slowly and forms zinc oxide. Then iron, iron reacts with steam to form iron oxide. And there are three metals, copper, silver and gold. They show no reaction with water. So in this way, today we have learned how metals and non-metals react with water and what are the products which are formed after the reaction with water. Thank you.